Please welcome Corporate Vice President, Microsoft Security, Vasu Jakkal.
Well, hello, and good afternoon, everyone. It's fantastic to be here with you all. First, congratulations to Jen on her amazing CEO role. Let's give it up for her. That's amazing. And then secondly, since we are all just separated by 1 degree of freedom, I thought I'll start with a little footloose. Just joking. But I did want to start by wishing everyone and RSAC a happy 35th anniversary. Thank you, RSAC, for your service. Yes. Thank you for bringing this incredible community together. Thank you for your service. It's invaluable and deeply appreciated. Many defining moments in our industry have been ideated on and discussed right here. And when we look back 35 years ago to that first RSAC in 1991, we can actually see that many of the forces shaping today's world were set in motion that year. In technology, the World Wide Web, who remembers that, went public and information moved from closed systems to globally accessible networks. Linux was born, laying the foundations for open, scalable computing and composable digital infrastructure, and Windows-based computing was expanding rapidly, signaling this upcoming workplace transformation. The magnitude of what has changed between then and now is hard to fathom, even for those of us living through it. And if we could talk to those attendees in 1991, I'm sure they would be probably shocked to know how many of us arrived here today to Moscone Center in a driverless car powered by AI. They might be amazed to know that just a few miles away from here, in UCSF, a neurosurgeon is working on understanding tumors and removing the cells, the abnormal cells at the margin of that tumor using AI. And they might not even believe us if we told them that agents would surface impactful vulnerabilities and fix them autonomously. It would sound like science fiction. And yet, we know that that is true and happening today. Organizations are becoming frontier, where humans and agents are working together, and we are only just scratching the surface of AI. But as is always with the case of technology advancement, there will always be those who will use it for nefarious purposes. And today, we are at an inflection point with the early use of AI-powered attacks. Microsoft Threat Intelligence has observed that most malicious use of AI today centers on improving the threat actors' tradecraft. Threat actors are using Gen AI to draft phishing lures, generating and debugging malware, and scaffolding scripts and infrastructure. We've seen this in operations by North Korean actors, Jasper Seed, Coral Sleet, where AI enables sustained, large-scale misuse of legitimate access to things like identity fabrication, through social engineering, and really long-term persistence at very low cost. We've also observed early threat actor experimentation with agentic AI, where models are supporting iterative decision and task execution. And there are many examples from our ecosystem on this as well. Anthropic, for example, reported how Claude was used as part of an attack workflow where it performed 80 to 90% of the operational tasks autonomously without human direction. For attackers, AI changes everything. Now, the intent of a skilled operator is still required, but AI is allowing an expert attacker to be exponentially more effective. That tells us something profound about the future of security. It tells us that today's threats aren't just faster, they're structurally different. And in this new reality, security has to change. For too long, we've relied on layers of siloed point solutions, static policies, and human-reliant response. But attackers don't think in silos. They think in graphs, and with agents, they can now operate continuously at machine speed across these graphs. What this means is that defenders, we need to change our game. We need to move at unprecedented scale, speed, and sophistication. It also means that as defenders, we have to think of security comprehensively. Because if you only have security at specific control points, the attacker will just find another way in. At Microsoft, we believe the future of security is ambient and autonomous. Just like the AI, it needs to protect. What I mean by that is that you can't simply turn on security. It has to be something that's woven deeply into every layer of the AI stack, from agents to apps to platforms to infrastructure to the silicon, everything. It needs to be always on, always there, everywhere. Security needs to go from reactive to proactive, and it has to act safely, responsibly, and at the scale of AI. That is the future of security. Now, to deliver on this, we need to use agents. We need to use agents that are continuously discovering, testing, and fixing the attack paths in an always-on, self-defending loop so defenders can address these attacks before they happen. Imagine that. Of course, humans stay in control. We need to validate and we need to govern the actions of these agents, and we need to make sure that security is operating at the scale of AI. And as we do this, I know that we will build trust at the very core of our organizations. And security becomes that incredible catalyst for innovation. So let's talk about what this means in practice and what do we need to do. The first thing to secure AI, we must start with the foundations. In the agentic age, you still need to secure the foundations. Human identities, data, endpoints, cloud, apps, infrastructure. And you need to make sure that these foundations are secure by design and by default. Ambient and autonomous security at that foundational level means that security is continuously embedded in the environment itself. Think across hardware and networks and sensors and infrastructure, cloud, facilities, all that. So the system is always sensing, it's always reasoning, it's adapting rather than waiting for alerts and alarms. Now, while we're securing these foundations, what is rapidly changing today is that agents are joining our workforce. They are becoming our colleagues. In fact, by 2028, IDC projects that there will be 1.3 billion agents. And we are already seeing organizations scaling agents with 80% of Fortune 500 organizations building and using agents. Yet less than half of the organizations today report a readiness for Gen AI use. Half. Agents must be secured, and they must be secured with the same vigilance that we use to secure people. Otherwise, they risk what we call is becoming double agents. Sounds very sci-fi-ish. But these agents can get manipulated by threat actors and engage in nefarious actions. We've seen examples of this. it is important that we address things like agent sprawl. We protect data from leaking. We are protecting these agents from external attacks like prompt injections. And all the time, we are complying with regulations. So where does this start? First and foremost, it starts with observability, because we cannot protect what we cannot see. And in this era of agentic AI, organizations will need an observability control plane. Not just security teams, but IT teams, developer teams, and security teams. And all of these roles will need shared security controls for agent identity, for threat protection, for security posture, for data security and governance. So let's start and take a look at each of these layers. Let's start with identity. For agent identity, it's imperative that AI agents be treated as active participants. They must be secured just like humans, with dynamic identity based on behavior and context, managing least privileged access, having policy-bound controls across apps, clouds, networks, users, and more, to prevent these unsafe actions before execution. We need to ensure that agents have access to only what is needed, and we take that access off when it's not needed. Let's go to threat protections. We need threat protections that can learn and adapt. Every agent will need to be continuously assessed for risky permissions or misconfigs, so we reduce that exposure right up front. Further, as these agents operate, we need to make sure that we are monitoring their behavior in real time, inspecting their actions, and blocking suspicious activity as it happens. We also need to continuously correlate these signals across the environment so that we can uncover stealthy or novel techniques that others could miss. That's super important. These novel techniques, like jailbreaks and prompt injections, require agentic security because it needs to operate continuously. It needs to reason across all these signals to detect intent, and it needs to act at machine speed. Now let's go to another critical part, which is data. Because these agents work with data, we need to be able to see how these agents interact with sensitive information. What's going in, what's coming out? We need to make sure that we're applying data loss prevention policies, that we're applying sensitivity labels in real time, and we are preventing oversharing and leakage before it becomes a breach. Governance, a very important thing, can no longer be periodic, human-driven process. It must be a continuous, built-in system of guardrails. And as autonomy increases, we need to make sure that governance systems don't just observe behavior, but they act within defined boundaries to prevent risks, to constrain unsafe actions, and maintain alignment with business intentions, as well as regulations, all the time with the human in the loop. Now, finally, and very importantly, while the AI is reducing the barrier for attackers everywhere, we know that, it's also giving defenders this incredible, powerful opportunity to tilt the scales. With AI agents, we can see patterns, we can respond faster, and with this, security shifts from constant reaction to building resilience. Bringing these agents into the workflow helps defenders do a myriad of things, from triaging incidents to optimizing identity conditional access policies, surfacing and customizing that threat intelligence we need, and maintaining secure, compliant endpoints, among a few things. I believe that agents will just simply become the augmentation and the team for every single defender. These agents are going to become our primary interface to an organization's security data, the logic and tools. And they will need a comprehensive platform which helps them access the data they need, learn, reason, and adapt, enabling security to be deployed and to be deployed at scale, working 24/7 and traversing really complex databases, artifacts, understanding any language, and doing all of this work in a fraction of a second. How cool is that? Together, this vision shifts security from reacting and reactive to a proactive and a predictive, continuously self-defending system that operates at that agentic speed. This is the future of security. It is agentic security, where we are securing AI with AI. Now, what we're talking about is a big step forward, no doubt. But this is a critical one. Can we get there? Well, we must. And as always, we'll need to approach this technology and AI evolution with great humility. So here are a few things that we have learned. In an environment of such rapid progress and change, zero trust is critical and needs to extend to AI. We need to have continuous verification, least privilege access, and assume breach across identity, data, and runtime behavior. The second is that measurements and evaluations are going to be critical to build trust and progress towards autonomy. It will be incumbent upon organizations to develop their own evaluation and validation criteria. AI agents need to earn the right to operate in your environment. And that means, as security professionals, we need to put them through the paces to see how accurate and trustworthy they are. We will need to understand the guardrails and safety measures that matter most for our organizations, to understand which agents can run with some autonomy and which ones need more oversight. The third lesson is that security skill sets must continue to evolve. I know we feel this every single day. Now, last year, when I was on the stage, I shared my belief that security professionals will need to learn to manage agents as part of your security teams. I still believe that's true, and that's happening. But the difference between then and now is the speed at which everything is moving so fast. And given that everyone can create an agent, no-code, low-code tools, I think what's happening is these agents are also becoming very capable of creating their own task agents. So security professionals are going to have to not just manage these agents, but really continuously validate and evaluate them. I think it's exciting. The truth is, today, there's so much to learn. And much of the promise of AI depends really on humanity coming together to ensure that AI serves a common good. But our collective community is incredibly powerful. By sharing information and best practices, we can better understand how we need to evolve as defenders and how we can better protect organizations and innovation in the era of AI. After all, in a connected world, security is a team sport. That's why it's my great honor to introduce via video a leader who has been a champion of initiatives in emerging technologies, public-private partnerships, and international collaboration. His Excellency, Dr. Mohamed Al-Kuwaiti, Head of Cybersecurity for the UAE Government Cybersecurity Council. His Excellency was not able to travel here in person, but we wanted to share his story as his organization is setting an incredible example of what the future of security looks like. Let's take a look.
Greetings to you all from the UAE. While I could not be with you in person, especially that I've been to every RSA in the past 15 years. I wanted my voice to be presented in this great conference. The UAE has set a national ambition to build 1 billion AI agents. These agents will span every sector, from government services to financial services to healthcare and beyond. But we must be clear, every agent is also a new identity, a new endpoint, and a new surface that must be secured. At the UAE Cybersecurity Council, we see this not only as a challenge, but as a strategic opportunity. Properly governed and secured, agents can strengthen national resilience. They can extend into roles such as cybersecurity analysts, operating beyond human duty cycles, and supporting continuous protection across the AI infrastructure that we are building domestically. This is an area where we are eager to explore further with partners such as Microsoft to evaluate what is possible, understand the implications, and determine together how agents can operate safely and effectively at a national scale. When a nation reaches that level of AI deployment, the impact on capacity and productivity can be unprecedented. This is why we are pursuing what we call national XDR, extended detection and response, not at the enterprise level, but at the country level. Imagine a unified capability that delivers visibility and response across critical sectors, powered by AI agents that correlate threats, share intelligence, and take action in real time. No nation can defend in isolation. That is why we have invested in Crystal Ball, our initiative for international threat intelligence sharing. Now we are developing Crystal Ball 2.0, designed to scale collaboration across countries, sectors, and communities. The next evolution is clear. We must move from human to human intelligence sharing to agent intelligence sharing. Crystal Ball 2.0 is being designed with that vision, enabling AI agents to exchange threat intelligence at machine speed across borders so that when a threat is detected in one nation, defensive actions can be activated everywhere. In closing, I'm happy and honored to be with you all virtually, and we look forward to strengthening collaboration with partners across governments, industries, and the global cybersecurity community.
Well, many thanks to the UAE Government Cybersecurity Council for demonstrating the future of security in action. 35 years from now, when security professionals gather in this place, what will the future look like? With the pace of innovation today, it's every bit as impossible for us to imagine what that future holds as it would have been for RSAC attendees back in 1991. But today, Agentic AI is no longer fiction. It is the most consequential technology of our time. And security is the key to ensuring that Agentic AI is worthy of the trust we aspire to place in it. We in this room hold the awesome opportunity and responsibility to help shape the future. And at times, it will be a struggle. The most important work always is. But look around. We're not alone. This is a community. And we'll create the future we want together. Thank you so much.